All right, sports fans, how's everybody out there doing? William Martin coming at you one more time here on YouTube with another edition of the 300 Pounds of Sports Knowledge Podcast. This is a very big Saturday in the world of college football that is right around the bend. We've got some ranked teams facing each other. We also have some early season big games within the respective or some of the respective conferences that are going to have some bearing going a long way as far as which teams can possibly win their leagues, as well as which teams are going to improve their status in regards to the 12-team college football playoff. Now, I want to get started with a big one on Saturday in the Big 12, as you got the 20th ranked Cowboys of Oklahoma State traveling to Manhattan to take on the 23rd ranked Wildcats of Kansas State. Now, for both of these clubs, they lost their respective Big 12 openers last weekend. We saw K State go on the road and take it on the chin, courtesy of BYU, while Oklahoma State just simply got out physical by Utah at home last week. The Cowboys, I'm looking at both of these teams. They're defined by their running games, and I think both K State and Oklahoma State need to get back on track in regards to running the football. Who's going to do it? Is it going to be the Cowboys with Ollie Gordon, or is it going to be the Wildcats with quarterback Avery Johnson and, of course, running back DJ Giddens? I look at these two defenses. You got some solid linebackers for both of these clubs. Nick Martin for Oklahoma State, and then, of course, Romaine for K-State. Defensive end Brendan Mott, is he going to have an impact in this game for K-State? And also keep an eye out for Oklahoma State safety Trey Rucker. Now, K-State, as of now, they're favored by 5 points. I'm going to take them at home, and I'm going to give them the 31-24 advantage. Now, you got the 15th ranked Cardinal out of Louisville making the trek to South Bend to take on the 16th ranked Fighting Irish out of Notre Dame. Ever since that loss to Northern Illinois, Notre Dame has looked like a different team. Granted, they're not taking on world beaters, if you will, but it looks like that was one of those attention getters. And they're going to need that this Saturday as they host a very good Louisville team. I think for me, the onus is going to be on this Notre Dame offense. What is quarterback Riley Leonard as well as running back Jeremiah Love? Can they be the catalyst for Notre Dame as they take on Louisville? You got a good Fighting Irish defense led by linebacker Jack Kaiser. And that's going to be important because Louisville has a very solid offense. And I really want to see what this Notre Dame defense looks like going up against Louisville quarterback Tyler Shaw, as well as wide receiver Ja'Cory Brooks. This is Louisville's first road game of the season, and it's a big test. You got Notre Dame coming into this contest favored by 6.5. I'm going to take the under there, and I'm going to take the Fighting Irish by the score of 24-20. Now, in Arlington, it's an age-old rivalry that goes back to the Southwestern Conference, as you got Arkansas taking on the 24th ranked Texas A&M Aggies. You look at this Arkansas team, and honestly, both of these clubs, they're quietly looking to make some noise this year in the SEC. Taylon Green, he's been up and down as a passer, but of course, his bread is buttered by what he's able to do with his legs. And it's all about this Arkansas running game with quarterback Taylon Green and, of course, running back Jaquindon Jackson. And if they can get going, it sets up the play action to the likes of Andrew Armstrong. But for A&M, it's one of those where freshman quarterback Marcel Reed, he's looked very comfortable so far as he's filling in for the injured Connor Wegman. And of course, he's going to be the fill-in for the rest of the season as Wegman's out for the year. But nonetheless, he's done a pretty good job so far for head coach Mike Elko. Running back Le'Veon Moss, what is he going to do against this Razorbacks defense and improving Razorbacks defense? But then I'm looking at both of these secondaries. Marcus Radcliffe in that Aggie secondary, and then, of course, TJ Metcalf for the Razorbacks. A&M comes into this contest favored by 4 points. I think this is going to be a back and forth affair, but I'm going to take A&M by the score of 27-24. Now, another one in the Big 12. You got a pair of unranked teams, but I still think eyes are going to be on this game. You got Colorado traveling cross country to take on UCF, and that's something you got to get accustomed to now in these conferences. Now, the Golden Knights do come in favored by 2 touchdowns at home, and they're taking on a Buffalo team that's flying high after last Saturday night's win at home against Baylor, but nonetheless, Baylor, I'm not going to go out there and say that Baylor is a championship contender in the Big 12. But if you're Colorado, you got to find some solace in the fact that, hey, you know what? You went out there and you simply won that game. You know what you're going to get from the Buffaloes with quarterback Shador Sanders and his trio of wide receivers. I'm talking about Jimmy Horn Jr., Travis Hunter, and then, of course, LeJontay Wester. The problem is, and it continues to be for Colorado, there are issues as far as being able to run the football. They're going to have to find a way to fix that, and they're going to have to find a way to stop the run. Because when you think about UCF and head coach Gus Malzahn, he is going to run the football and keep running the football, and he's going to test an opposing team's endurance. You've got quarterback KJ Jefferson, you've got running back RJ Harvey, and I think this is going to be one of those fun games. UCF is favored by 2 touchdowns at home. I think they win this game by 2 touchdowns. I'm going to take Central Florida by the score of 41-27. Now, in the Mountain West on Saturday afternoon, you've got Fresno State traveling to take on UNLV. And both of these teams, they have designs on winning the Mountain West this season. And of course, a lot has changed. The tenor of this game has changed this week. Of course, if you know, no more Matthew Sluka at quarterback for UNLV over that NIL dispute. So in steps Hajj Malik Williams. You've got linebacker Jackson Woodard for the Rebels, and then you've got Jalen Catalan in that secondary. Fresno State brings a very good squad to Vegas, which includes wide receiver Magdalena as well as linebacker to a CV Numora, as well as Cam Lockridge in that secondary. But I'll tell you like this, on a national scale, I feel like Barry Odom, the head coach of UNLV, does not get enough credit for the job that he has done in Vegas, turning around this program. And I'll tell you like this, with all of the controversy that has gone on around UNLV this week, as far as the Matthew Sluka situation, whether or not they're staying in the Mountain West, whether or not they're going to the Pac-12, I'll tell you like this, Barry Odom is going to have his team ready to play. And because of that, I'm going to take UNLV at home by the score of 27-22. Now, Saturday night in the ACC, you've got Stanford traveling cross country again. Of course, that's a theme now in these expanded conferences. They went on the road and got the win last week against Syracuse. Now they got to try to do it against the 17th ranked Clemson Tigers. Clemson comes into this contest favored by 21 and a half, and a lot of people aren't respecting the Cardinal. For the Cardinal to do it, they're going to need a big game from their top wide receiver, Eric Aomanor, as well as linebacker Gathan Bernardell. But I think we're starting to see Clemson get back on track, and I think the Tigers have what it takes to emerge from that muddled ACC. For me, I think it starts with Clemson's defense, but then also with their running game, with running back Phil Maffa and Cade Klubnik. As the games progress, as the season progresses, he looks more and more comfortable at quarterback. Like I said, the Tigers are favored by 21 and a half at home. It's a night game in Death Valley. Clemson hardly loses those night games, and I'm going to take the Tigers by the score of 37-19. Now, the big one that everybody is talking about, and of course, it's the showdown in Tuscaloosa, as you have the second-ranked Bulldogs out of Georgia taking on the fourth-ranked Alabama Crimson Tide. And of course, when you think about Georgia and Alabama, we haven't seen them face off that much in the SEC. First, when the SEC went to 12 teams from 10 teams about 30 some odd years ago, then to 14, and now to 16. But of course, no more divisional format in the SEC. And of course, typically when you see Georgia and Alabama face off, it's either in the college football playoff or, of course, in the SEC championship game. A lot of big hoopla around this game. It's well deserved. You have two of the better and premier football programs in the nation. And I'll tell you like this, if you're Alabama, you're coming into this contest with a chip on your shoulder. Why? Because it ain't that often that the Crimson Tide are the underdog at home. But as of right now, Georgia is the 2-point favorite in this one. But I'll tell you like this is going to be a big test for Kirby Smart and his Georgia Bulldogs. We saw them go on the road a couple of weeks ago and struggle with Kentucky. What are they going to do with Alabama? I think first and foremost, Georgia is going to want to establish the line of scrimmage. And for them to do that, they got to get their running game going with Travis Etienne as well as Nate Frazier. Take some of that pressure off of quarterback Carson Beck. But you look at this Alabama team, and when Nick Saban left, he left a lot of talent in Tuscaloosa for new head coach Kalen DeBoer. And of course, Kalen DeBoer has brought in some talent and coaching of his own. We know about Jalen Milroe as the running quarterback. But now it's more about Jalen Milroe, the thrower of the football for Alabama under Kalen DeBoer. Keep an eye on him hooking up with wide receiver Ryan Williams in this game. And then, of course, Alabama's still going to run the football. They're still going to run the football with Jalen Milroe. And also keep an eye out for running backs. You got Jan Miller as well as Justice Hayes in this contest. Like I talked about, the talent still being there for Alabama. Look no further to their defense, which you have a slew of linebackers. You got Deontay Lawson, Jihad Campbell, as well as Quay Robinson. And then you can't forget about Keon Sabb in that secondary. This is going to be Kalen DeBoer's first taste of life in the SEC. It is going to be electric at Bryant Denny on Saturday night. Georgia comes into this contest favored by 2. The over-under is 48.5. But guess what? I'm taking Alabama at home by the score of 27-20. Now, Saturday night in the Big Ten, you've got the 19th ranked Fighting Illini out of Illinois traveling to Happy Valley to take on the 9th ranked Penn State Nittany Lions. And of course, Illinois is upset-minded, but they got a tiger by the tails, if you will, as they take on a Penn State team that is favored by 19.5 at home. But nonetheless, when you face this Illinois team under head coach Brett Bielema, you better go out there and you better pack a lunch if you want to beat them. Luke Altmaier at quarterback is playing some of the best ball of his career. And then you look at the way that the Illini are running the football. And of course, with Brett Bielema, you're going to run the football. You look at Caden Faden. You look at Aiden Lowry in this contest. It's going to be a matchup between them and this Penn State front seven. Also, if Illinois can get their running game established, it's going to open things up for the likes of Pat Franklin and Zachary Franklin at the wide receiver position. Defensively for the Illini, Dennis Briggs Jr. on that defensive line, as well as Xavier Scott in that secondary. Can they go out there and make some plays and disrupt the timing of this Penn State offense? Still, you got a lot of talent on this Penn State team. It starts with quarterback Drew Aller, and then their duo of running backs. You've got Nicholas Singleton as well as Katron Allen, and also keep an eye out for Tyler Warren in this one. I know that Penn State is heavily favored in this one, but I think that this game is going to be a lot closer than the experts are pegging it to be. Thus, I'm going to take the Nittany Lions at home, but I'm only going to take them by 3, 27-24. And finally, a big one out west that probably is not going to get a lot of coverage out there, but I think it has the makings to be one of the better games this Saturday. You've got Washington State traveling to the Smurf Turf to take on the 25th ranked Broncos out of Boise State in a contest that, they're going to be 2 conference foes real soon once Boise State comes to the Pac-12. Very fun game for the offenses. I want to see what defense is going to show up in this game because you look at the Cougars. They've got their dynamic quarterback in John Mateer. They're going to run the football with Wayshawn Parker. And then, of course, a trio of talented wide receivers in Kyle Williams, Josh Meredith, and Chris Hudson. You look at this Boise State team. And of course, when you think about Boise, it starts and ends with running back Ashton Genty. Will Washington State defensively be able to slow him down? That's going to be the theme for the likes of linebackers Ethan O'Connor and Carl Thornton for the Cougars. You look at quarterback Maddox Matson for Boise State. He's probably going to go out there. He's going to look to feed off of the running game of Ashton Genty, do a lot of play actions to the likes of Cameron Camper. And then, of course, defensively for the Broncos, you got to keep an eye on linebacker Andrew Simpson. Like I said, this one right here has the makings of being one of the better showdowns on Saturday. It's a late night game on the East Coast. Of course, the folks on the West Coast, they're going to have the opportunity to see it in prime time. It's one of those. Boise State comes in favored by 7.5 at home. The over under is 63.5. But when it's all said and done, I'm going to take the Broncos to hold serve at home by the score of 34-33. So, folks, those are my key games for what I do feel is going to be a very exciting Saturday in the world of college football. And as always, I want to take this time out to thank all of you for tuning into the 300 Pounds of Sports Knowledge podcast here on YouTube. I want to take this time out to thank all of you fine folks out there for tuning in. And if you haven't already, please feel free to subscribe to this channel. Now, if you're on the X, formerly known as Twitter, please feel free to follow me at 300 Pounds of Sports. And like I always say, if you follow me, it will be my pleasure to follow you right back. There's also the sports discussion group on Facebook at the Sports Depot 365. Now, you can check it out. Drop a line to be a part of one of the better sports debating sites going on social media. So once again, fine folks, my name is William Martin, and I'm signing off. And I'm saying take care and have yourselves a wonderful day.